the guy on a championship team, we're not going to ever give him the respect, that he probably deserves. And that's just the way it is. And like I say, the game hasn't changed. Kobe said it. LeBron said it. And so we're going to hold him to the same high standard.
KD then responded on Twitter saying this: all this bleep is nasty. Another terrible analogy from a hating old head that can't accept that we're making more bread than him. It's just timing, Chucky. Don't hate the player. All right, JJ back here with us. Can I just say one thing? There's no one I like to watch more on TV than Charles Barkley. I think he's so entertaining. But if I hear any more about this bus after this segment, it is such a tortured metaphor. We need to put the whole bus driver thing to bed, please, if I hear it one more time.
Yeah.
Stephen A., do you have a problem with Barkley's comments on KD?
I don't have a problem with Barkley's comments, and I don't have a problem with Kevin Durant clapping back at him. I think it's perfectly within Kevin Durant's right to clap back. He is a two-time champion. He is a two-time NBA Finals MVP. I think when healthy, he's the greatest player on the planet. And the fact of the matter is he has more hardware on his resume than Charles Barkley does. That's just a fact. But when he brings up the cash, it's not about the cash. So why bring that up? I don't understand that. You might have some old heads, as he would say, hating on the modern-day era of players getting paid the money that they're getting paid. But it would be because they feel like some of the younger dudes or the modern-day players don't have an appreciation for those who paved the way for them to the degree that they should. I don't think he should have brought up the money in regards to that. I said, but I do think that he should have clapped back. But I also think it's important to understand what Charles Barkley was trying to say. Because Barkley wasn't lying about what people will say. I'm talking about Hall of Famers. A lot of times, JJ, when I sit up here and I talk about basketball the way that I do, what people keep forgetting, I've been a journalist for nearly 30 years. I was in the locker rooms, on the beat, traveling 200-plus days a year for close to 20 years covering the National Basketball Association. And every single year, every time I had something to say about the modern-day player, it was the Hall of Famers who pick up the phone and call and say, don't forget to hold them accountable. Hold them to the same standard you will hold us to. This is what the standard is, and you better believe you damn well better not let them get away with that. Keep it consistent. This is the kind of things that they said. So the only reason that I bring up, and I'm not agreeing with Charles Barkley at all in terms of what Kevin Durant's stature was, because even though it was Steph Curry's team, he was the best player on that team, okay? But I will tell you that there are Hall of Famers who are champions that are going to look at the departure from Oklahoma City to Golden State a month after being in Oklahoma City and losing to them. And they're going to say, okay, you went to a ready-made squad, and then you departed from Steph Curry. You chose Kyrie Irving. You go to Brooklyn, and you've won one playoff series in 3 years. There are going to be those who look at him and are critical in that regard. And it ain't going to be the Stephen A's of the world. It's not going to be the J.J. Reddicks of the world. But it is going to be some of those Hall of Famers who are champions, who think about what they had to endure and say, where's the same heat in his direction? That is what Charles Barkley was articulating, and I didn't lose sight of that.
Well, first off, I wish Barkley, and I love him, and he was the best player on that 92 Dream Team. I wish Barkley had won a championship or two because he didn't win one. Charles likes to put himself with the Isaiahs, the Jordans, and the Kareems, and the Magic. Charles didn't win a title. Got to be fair. And
they don't put him with them.
Well, he puts himself. He puts himself with them.
Yeah,
he puts himself with them. And Charles is not. He's great, but he didn't win a title. And he can't say it's all Jordan because Shaq beat Jordan, and Olajuwon won a championship when Jordan was playing. So it's not all Jordan. And he bailed out of Philly because he wanted to get out of the Eastern Conference, and he wanted to go to Phoenix, and he still couldn't beat Jordan. So that's the first thing. Now I think he happens to be right though. I do think Durant, from a legacy standpoint, I think another title without Curry would help him. I think there are people out there who think, well, you know, Curry won without Durant, won the MVP. How come Durant hasn't won without Curry? So I do think there's something to that. I wish Durant would be bigger and not tweet back. I would wish he'd be bigger. Let it go. That's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here, and we talked a little bit about all this yesterday. In terms of, do I have a problem with Charles speaking out? The answer is no. Do I have a problem with Kevin Durant clapping back? The answer is no. Do I agree with Charles Barkley's comments? I don't. And Legler eloquently put it yesterday. Kevin Durant was the bus driver, and the registration on that bus was in Steph Curry's name. Like, we all know that was a big part of why Kevin Durant probably left, is that it was Steph Curry's team. It was always going to be Steph Curry's team. And he recognized, right, some of the legacy narrative talk, and we can talk about the differences a little bit in that, was that he went to Steph Curry's team and won there. But in terms of him being the bus driver, he was the bus driver on those two championship teams. I mean, you go down the line, 35, 8, and 5 in 17, 29, 11, 7.5 in 18. He was unbelievable in those finals games. And Warriors fans, they always think I'm hating on them and I'm hating on Steph. Like, Steph's my favorite player. He's one of the all-time greats. I'm not sure that those Warriors teams without Kevin Durant beat Houston. I'll be honest with you. Those series were neck and neck in both years. They had a 3-2 lead in 17. It was 2-2 in 18. I'm not sure they beat Houston without Kevin Durant. That's how important he was.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.